The numbers are green, so you might ask the question, is the dip over? Are we now finally ready to go into the real bull market? I think that if you make a poll right now that 50% says yes, we're going up, and 50% says no, we're still going down. To be honest, this market is pretty volatile right now, and a lot is happening. And usually, this time of the market is super unpredictable. I'm not gonna guess in the short term anyway, but we can take a look at like, hey, what can we expect for the coming months? So that's what I would like to do in this video. If you like the content already, like the content, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on. By the way, I'm doing a pretty cool giveaway. I can give away 50,000 Bybit tokens for the video that I made a couple of days ago, or yesterday. And all you have to do is just sign up there. It's free. Matter of fact, you get a free allocation in their upcoming pre-sale. So do check the link in the description. I can pick 5 winners that can win 10,000 Bybit tokens. So that's, you know, pretty decent amount of free money right there. It's $400 per person, which is huge, of course, for some people. So, but when it comes to making some big ass money in the long term for crypto, we can take a look at what Bitcoin is doing right now. So if we do put Bitcoin on the weekly, then it has been, you know, basically been going sideways, right? Like we said before, if you do take a look at the 4-year cycle, what happens if you take a Fibonacci tool and you take it from the top of the cycle to the bottom of the cycle? Every time we run up, we meet the 618, and that's where we get rejected. Right here we got rejected for 40%, and in the last cycle we went up there and we actually got rejected for like 71%, but that's because of the COVID crash. If we don't include COVID, then we got rejected for 55%, 53%. Now we did the exact same thing, right? Take it from the top to the bottom, we ran up to the 618 Fibonacci retracement, and we got rejected right there. However, this time the rejection was not that big. We so far went down with 21%. This could be it. It could be that this cycle is playing out way better than the other cycles. It could also be that it's not over, right? And I know that for the people that are in like quite a lot already with crypto, they feel like, it is over, we're going up, right? Because of course that's what you want. But let's take a look at the data and see, like, is this actually something that we should still consider to play out to the downside? I try to give an unbiased view. I'm not biased anyway because I'm having cash, having crypto. Basically, for me, it doesn't really matter what happens. So, you know, if it goes down, I'm fine. And if it goes up, I'm fine. I actually, without giving financial advice, can recommend everybody to, you know, do the same thing and not be fully into the market or fully out of the market, because it is crypto. We have the cycles. Of course, we know a little bit in the big picture on how it's going to play out, but you never know anything for sure, of course. So let's block the noise in the short term, right? Because the short-term moves can really determine on how bullish you are for the long term. And that's not, like, in my opinion, the correct way to do it. So what do I mean by that? Well, we got rejected at $49,000. For a lot of people, it was like, were we at 49? Yeah, we were there for a brief second, actually. And we went all the way down to 38. So we got a pretty good 11K red candle in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But is that it? Right? Now, if we do take a look at the last cycle where we got rejected, we topped out here. We topped out here at the 618, right? And how long did it take for us to go down? Well, we got rejected. Well, let me take it like this, by the way. You don't need the dates, but it took like 25 weeks before we found this bottom area, right? To put it in perspective, we are now at week number 3, right? We topped out in the week of January 8th. It's week number 3 right now. Still, it's almost week number 4. But here it took like more than 20 weeks to play out. The cycle before that, how long did that play out? This one went a lot faster. And that was even a big wick. But still, that one, you know, it lasted 7 weeks. right? We're not even half of that. So 7 weeks right there. And you can say like, yeah, well, you know, this wick, fair enough. If we don't include that wick, the drop was also less than it was 30%. But then the time could be longer, right? We take it anywhere from 8 weeks until 22 weeks. Sorry, what did I just say? From 8 weeks until 11 weeks. Sorry, I was looking at the percentages. Before we started to move up again. And by the way, we still had like big crashes in between, but that's always what happens in the bull market. So don't get stressed out when that happens. But okay, 20 weeks, let's say 10 weeks, right? Let's take a look at the first cycle. The first cycle, we did not exactly got rejected from the 618 though. The first cycle was different. But yeah, you know, that was like when Bitcoin was $5, right? So it didn't take much to move Bitcoin. So the cycle, the time in the cycle, it played out kind of the same. But yeah, the percentages and everything was like completely different from what we are seeing right now and last cycle and even the cycle before that. So I understand why this is a little different though. But still, timing wise, from the moment we got rejected until the bottom area was 10 weeks. Right here, it was slightly longer if you take this point right here, but let's say 10 weeks. So what you notice is that usually from the moment we get rejected, it takes, let's take the average of around 15 weeks, right? You just saw what numbers are pulled up right here. So let's say the average, 15 weeks. Best case scenario, if you are stuck on time or anything, it's 10. Well, that would mean that, again, and I like to work with averages. Not everybody believes in the same thing as I do. They have, sometimes people say like, yeah, well, this cycle is different because of this and this and this. As long as we are getting rejected at the same stage of the market, at the same level, I feel like, yeah, this is not really that different actually. The narratives are different. Of course, it's different every cycle. But then again, the price does the same every cycle. So that's kind of therefore I like averages. So if we do take the average of around like, let's say 10 weeks, it means that the downtrend could still happen until mid-March. And if we take 15 weeks, it could happen until mid-April, right? Now, that kind of lines up as well with the Bitcoin halving, right? Because usually after the Bitcoin halving, we don't do much for like a month or maybe two, and then we really start the uptrend. So what's possible, and I'm not, again, for the people that say like, yeah, you're predicting shit here, like, and you were wrong, or I'm not predicting, I don't know, man, serious. I don't like crypto predictions. It's all gambling, and you're gonna turn out to be wrong anyway, right? So I don't want to lose credibility over that. But what I see as a possibility, at least, right, is that we could still, you know, bounce a little up, right? We can touch 44K or something like that. And again, don't be too stuck on the short term because it sounds like a lot. But if you look at this chart, where my mouse is right now is 44K. It's basically where we are right now, right? So it's not that a big difference. But what we can do is just hover around a little bit, maybe, you know, touch this support level right here of like 36,000. I won't be surprised if we go down to 30, right? And then start to, you know, really maybe do nothing for a while and go up in the second half of the year, really. Why do I say 30,000? Well, it's a huge area. Like we had major resistance or support right here. We had major support right here. We had resistance right here, resistance here, resistance here. And all of a sudden we broke it. Like, but if you look at past resistances and supports, like this one, we had support right here, we had resistance here, we had resistance here, we break out, but we retested right before we go up. We did not see the retest yet. Like I showed you before, like for example, I was buying Falcon Forged, right? Like a couple of days ago. Now, people always said like, oh, you missed out on it. But I said, look, this is my strategy. Falcon Forge was in a range. And as long as it's ranging, you don't know where it's going, right? So what I said is like, hey, I'm not buying the top here, right? Because it might break out. I rather wait for it to break out, and then wait for the retest. And once it broke out, people said like, oh, you're missing out big time. But at the end of the day, it always pays off to have some good patience. Because now, a couple of months later, we got the retest and I bought that level, right? I bought it exactly here. And now it's bouncing up a little bit. Of course, it could go down again and maybe fall back in this range. But now we at least have the certainty that this level right here is not resistance, but support. That's a lot stronger. It's the same price level, but a lower risk level. And to me, risk is also important, not only price. Now, I could see the same happen for Bitcoin, right? Where it kind of breaks out and it takes a long time before we finally have that retest. And then it's a good place to buy. Thing is though, a lot of people here will be scared to buy, right? Because they see a chart like basically up only, right? A lot of sideways in between, but overall the direction is up. So people think like, yeah, well, it's a bull market, it only goes up, right? And overall, the macro direction in a bull market is up, of course, but it doesn't mean we cannot have huge pullbacks, right? These are all huge pullbacks, and the pullbacks are the ones I'm interested to buy. You can buy this resistance here, give or take, right? But you can also just wait, hey, confirmation that it broke out of the range. Wait for the pullback and then buy it before you go up, right? It's not me suggesting you should wait to buy because again, we don't know, right? So it's always better to DCA, but I'm very cautiously DCAing right now into altcoins, right? Because I look at Bitcoin, but it kind of reflects for me where altcoins are going as well. So I'm very cautiously dollar costing. But if we get here, I'm a dollar cost more heavy. If we don't get here, it's fine. I have a backup plan, right? I participate in launchpads, pre-sales, etc. So I can always use that money. I will never stay sidelined. You want to cover yourself. But overall, I do think we can go down for the coming months. Even if we go to 45, maybe even 46K in the meantime, it doesn't mean that like we cannot go lower or something. Right now, Bitcoin is having a good bounce. Nice, awesome, right? I won't complain if it goes up only from here though. Never. But it will make me richer if it still goes down, because then I even have a lower entry. That's even better, right? Because over the long term, hey, we are all bullish on crypto. Otherwise, like, you won't be watching this video. If you're not bullish on Bitcoin, then you probably don't give a fuck, or you're looking to short it. But I don't know who's really doing that over a bull market. But like I said, it lines up with the halving. I mean, if you look at the halving right here, hey, before the halving, it always goes down. We have the halving, a little sideways. Since the halving, it went sideways for like 3 months, basically. And then we started to go up. We had this halving right here. Before the halving, you have a lot of movements down still, right? And then we have the halving. Overall, we go kind of sideways for a couple of months, and then we really go up. We have the halving right here. Big move down before the halving. We have the halving. Here we went actually pretty much straight up after the halving. Also like 2012, a little different, right? But still, a couple of months after the halving, we went this was so parabolic. This is absolutely ridiculous. I don't expect that this time though, but I don't see anything parabolic really here, right? It goes up a little bit, sideways, up, sideways. The parabolic movement is yet about to happen, if you ask me. So it kind of makes sense. And yeah, what could cause it to go down? Like I said before, like, you don't need a narrative. Like, you can put 100 narratives against it, at it, but at the end of the day, it's always what happens, right? So I don't really care what the news is going to be, right? It's so cool about crypto. You can basically say, hey, usually here we go down. There will probably be bad news, right? FTX crash, so freaking weird, right? We always look at this cycle. Where do we bottom? End of 2014, basically, right? This cycle, where do we bottom? End of 2018. So based on the cycles, it was quite predictable that end of 2022, we find a bottom. What happened? FTX crash. Like it was planned or something like that. Like it was organized. like somebody controls the site. It sounds very conspiracy shit. I really don't like that shit. But it's so freaking coincidental all the time, right? Now, of course, the bull markets has something to do with the election year and with the Bitcoin halving, of course, right? But also weird how the bottoms play out. So the cycles are like super intact, and I'm not betting against it. Therefore, I also made a video that, again, not predicting, but $120,000 for Bitcoin would be average if you look at the cycle, right? Again, I'm not saying it will, but I'm also not surprised if it happens. Because if it doesn't happen, this cycle is different. But so far, every cycle is not different based on the last 14 years. So yeah, why would it change in the coming 11 months? It could, but you know, well, that's kind of how I look at it. So far, it has worked out pretty good. So, could we go down? Yes. Could it be that this time, you know, I mean, the drops aren't diminishing. Like if this was 40 or maybe even 30, then you would say the last one was even lower, but that was like 53, right? Now, if this one is just 20, then it's kind of all over the place. Hey, I'm not trying to, you know, make crypto make sense or anything. Like it doesn't, right? So it could. It could definitely be that this was just a 20% drop and now we're going up. But so far, that's not how it plays out. So I am prepared for the fact that we can go down more. And yeah, then I'm not even that interested in buying altcoins, because that time has passed. Like I said, last year I was dollar costing into Bitcoin. And if you look at the Bitcoin dominance, it has been going up very hard, right? So that was like a fantastic move if you were just buying Bitcoin, because overall altcoins are worth less against Bitcoin right now. But, you know, the dominance could go higher, but I think we're closer to the top than the bottom. So if you look at it like that, then it's a better play to, you know, go into altcoins than into Bitcoin right now. And it makes sense. If you look at, like, there will be some exceptions probably, but if you look at most altcoins against their Bitcoin pair, yeah, they are up, but compared to where they came from, they're still quite low, right? If you change GPT, this here is Illuvium, like, also like, yes, Illuvium will never go back here, of course, because of token vesting, right? There are way more tokens in circulation here than here. But, you know, still, based on the chart, like, it is, like, basically sitting at the bottom, right? So, if you feel like, yeah, I look at Illuvium and I missed out, you haven't really missed out on much right here, right? And that goes for most altcoins. If you look at Quant, at the bottom, Solana is a big exception, right? Solana had a fantastic run. Ronin also, there are definitely exceptions. Beam as well, but a lot, like even AVAX, which had a pretty good pump, still on its Bitcoin pair, you know, if it's on its Bitcoin pair want to go back to the all-time high, it still has a 3x to go. And what if Bitcoin does a 3x from here, right? That's decent. Volker Forged, sitting pretty much around the bottom right here. Games for a Living has cooled off quite a bit. Chainlink has been ranging for a long time. Ultra is even on its way to make new lows. Well, it's still far from there, but it's not looking that fantastic. Cetify had a pretty good run, to be honest, but still also quite low against Bitcoin. IMX in a big range, if you ask me. But, you know, more at the top than the bottom of the range at this moment. Superverse, big run up. Altura, like, yeah, okay. It's not like that high or something. So yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. It's also a matter of perspective. So for the coming months, I'm still being cautious. Because this is a period in Bitcoin's history where it can go up, down, but hard. So I won't go all in right here, because if it goes to 30K, I feel like, yeah, what the fuck, I could have had it way better. Of course, at the end of the day, we'll be fine, but I want to get the most out of it, right? with the lowest risk possible. So that's kind of how I look at things. And then after the halving, yeah, I'm turning completely bullish, because in also, if you look at the history of Bitcoin, there was no moment even that was nearly close to being bearish after the halving, right? With the halving, parabolic, halving, parabolic, halving, parabolic. We have the halving in a couple of months. Not saying we will go just as parabolic, but yeah, to say that we go down after that, that's completely a different direction. So I'm turning full bull pretty soon. But in the meantime, I am open to both ways, to be honest. And at a certain point, like Ethereum is really lagging. I don't like Ethereum. It's not fast. It's expensive, but it's the blue chip altcoin. It's the biggest altcoin out there. Ethereum is here to stay. Ethereum had bigger returns than Bitcoin so far every halving, and now we'll see how it does when it's deflationary. But yeah, if you look at Ethereum on its Bitcoin pair, it is yeah, kind of screwed, right? I mean, it's in a downtrend. It had one big spike right here, but it was nothing but a lower high. And Ethereum Bitcoin looks like super weak. So if you look to build a safe portfolio, I would say look out with Ethereum. It's safer to be in Bitcoin at this moment. But maybe this is the bottom right here eventually. Maybe it, you know, it bounces and it goes up finally. But, you know, if you look at such a chart, usually falling wedges play out to the upside, right? You know, this one went down. Yeah, it's just lower lows, lower highs, super unhealthy at the moment. And that's against its Bitcoin pair, right? So it doesn't mean it goes down against the dollar necessarily. But you know how it works. If Bitcoin goes down, Ethereum goes down harder. If Bitcoin goes up, Ethereum goes down less, so, or up less. So yeah, I want to leave it right here. Don't forget to participate in the giveaway. Like I said, just sign up, link in the description. Clickbait, make an account right there. Do check it out, get some free allocations, and you have a chance of winning 10,000 tokens for free, which is a bronze tier as well, so you can participate in their new upcoming launches. That's it for today. See ya.